In a previous video, I mentioned that there are multiple ways you can work with your parts. And in that video, I focused primarily on somatic experiencing and a way to do somatic attachment work with your parts. But I mentioned in that video that if it's not for you, if body-based work is not really your jam, there are other ways that you can do parts work. One of the options that I like to recommend is a style of journaling. So if you remember, parts are essentially the aspects of us that hold different painful experiences we've been through. So in essence, when we go through those experiences when we're younger, that aspect of us fragments off and becomes a part, and then it holds that experience, it holds the emotions, and then that way it's sort of separate from us. And in the healing journey, what can be so helpful is to learn how to nurture and care for those parts that have been fragmented off and bring them back in, and to help them feel seen, to help them feel cared for, and to essentially do some reparenting work so that the trigger that's held inside of those parts can get smaller and smaller over time, and the strengths of those parts are able to shine forward and be reintegrated into who we are as a whole being. And in doing that, in our wholeness, we feel our best and we're able to bring all of our strengths to the table. So if you're someone who might prefer a journaling method for working with parts, I want to describe a way you can do that. And it's really simple. So essentially, you would pick out a journal that's specifically for your parts related journaling, and then grab 2 different color pens, at least 2. If you're working with one part, you need 2 pens. If you think you're going to work with more than one part, maybe you'll designate different colors to different parts, and you can have like a key in the beginning of your journal that says like blue is for this part that tends to be a perfectionist, and red is for this angry part, or whatever the case may be. But essentially, each part is going to have a color, and your inner parent is going to have a color. And so when you feel a part activated in the body in the form of a trigger, so you would feel like a trigger, or you would feel the presence of a difficult emotion that you would normally push aside perhaps, or that you have a hard time sitting with, you want to pick up this journal and imagine which part is showing up in that trigger, and grab that color pen and just start writing. Essentially letting that part hold the pen. So that part is going to explain what it's feeling, what thoughts are associated with that, what experiences come to mind. It's basically a freestyle writing technique to get to the heart of what that part is experiencing in that moment. And then when you're done, you want to put the pen down, close your journal, and walk away. Go about doing some sort of other task, do the dishes, whatever can kind of get you in a mode where you're resetting your experience in your body. When you feel like you're ready, you'll come back to your journal and you'll pick up the pen that is the color of your inner parent. And then you're going to read through what the part had written through the eyes of a grace-filled, loving inner parent. So you want to sort of do some work to bring that side of you forward so that you can sit in that energy of a non-judgmental, grace-filled, loving inner parent, embody it, and then read what that part had written previously. Read through it with those eyes, and then reply. Reply as though it is speaking directly to that part and offering it everything that that part needs in that moment. So maybe it's attunement. Maybe it's reminders of its worth. Maybe it's a few statements that let that part know that what it experienced in the past was not okay. It's essentially just using journaling as a way to love on and reparent that part in terms of providing it what it originally needed when it was younger, when you were younger, when that part fragmented off to begin with. So this is a way you can get to know the part and build a relationship of trust between these 2 sides of you, the inner parent and this part. After you're done replying as inner parent, you can put the pen down, you can walk away, you can get into another task, and then come back and read both what the part had written and what the inner parent had written. If from that point it feels like the dialogue is complete, you can end it there. If it feels like there's more back and forth needed, you can continue. If it feels as though enough attunement or care has been provided for problem solving to be the next step, which can only occur when we feel met and heard and seen first, you can now get to the problem solving part of the discussion. You can't jump to problem solving before attunement and before pouring love and care into a triggered part. That has to come first. But once that happens, it might be that that's enough and that's all that's needed in the encounter. Other times, once that's happened, there's a soft regulation that's set in that frees up our capacity to problem solve. And you might find that problem solving is needed. So an example might be if the part is essentially saying that it was triggered by a recent encounter with a family member. And as you dialogue back and forth through journaling, you recognize after attuning that there is a step that this part is asking for you to take on its behalf in terms of boundary setting or in terms of a conversation that this part would like for you to have with that family member. That's a problem solving step that I would save for last and then go ahead and make a statement about that. I recognize that a boundary needs to be set here, and I will do that on your behalf. I have your back. I hear you. I'm listening, and I want you to know that I am advocating for you at all times. Something along those lines, so that you can practice all the stages of being met through a trigger and not just meeting it, but changing the way you navigate your life based on the information that you're getting from these aspects of yourself that you are now listening to. Because this process of listening and attuning to these parts that normally are ignored and pushed to the side, not seen, not heard, one of the benefits, besides the inner child healing and healing attachment wounds, is that you can now access information that they have for you about how to better care for yourself and navigate the world, how to make decisions that are based on all of our different parts' needs. So this method has a way of helping you to track what sorts of changes you're making in your life as a result of having a more connected relationship with yourself inwardly. And really, over time, you can go back and read like how much progress you've made and all the different ways that you've learned to show up in your life differently because of the fact that you are now listening more deeply to yourself and you are honoring everything that different aspects of you are requiring. And again, there are times where you won't necessarily need to do any problem solving, because if you think about even just couples work, a lot of times once I help couples hear each other and attune, and then I ask, do we need to do something about this now that we've talked through it and you see and you hear each other? A lot of times couples will say, no, we thought we needed to do something, but actually we just needed to hear each other. So sometimes the attuning is the answer and that's it. Other times you're going to know, no, there's a step I need to take here. In order to take better care of this part, I'm going to need to do something different. And I'm going to commit to that here in the problem solving step. And then next time it might be a different part that shows up and you go ahead and do the same thing with that part using a different color pen. You can also do this in a way where you allowed two parts of you to communicate with each other. And that can be helpful when you are in conflict, like part of me wants this and part of me wants this. And they're two totally different things. That happens a lot to people. And then we feel stuck because we don't know which part to honor in our decision making. So by allowing two parts to communicate with each other in this journaling form, you can start to work out some of the division and help reparent them in a way that helps them to feel safe, not only with you, but with each other. So it's a really creative way to just sort of get this stuff flowing. I hope this is helpful. Let me know if you try it, what you think, and I will come back with another video soon. Bye.